Hello Reefers, this is Felix, and in this video I'll show you what's hidden behind the scenes of Dejong Marinelife, including a spectacular show tank, a state-of-the-art marine fish breeding project, and tons of rare fish. This visit was an absolute dream come true. Let's dive in. Right as you walk in, you find their wholesale area, where they hold all imported fish, corals, and inverts, to be packaged up and distributed throughout the EU. I took a quick look around at what gems were in stock today, and my favorite amongst the fish was easily the school of surgeonfish swimming through their SPS flats, as well as this very chunky Lunula triggerfish. They've also had those giant horseshoe crabs. They were easily 1 foot in diameter, and I had no idea they could get this big. And did I mention they have a shark hotel? A whole pond for sharks and rays, where public aquariums and zoos can get them from. And what kind of moonfruit video would it be if I didn't showcase some corals? So here's a speedrun of my favorites that I found on a whim. These chalice corals drew me in like a moth to the flame. Crazy fluorescence and the orange and blue combination is always one of my favorites. There's a really gold one with red accents, a crazy red and teal one, orange and green, an orange one with tiny blue dots all over the whole coral is certainly special as well. Then we have the reverse blue with orange accents, different varieties of Splatagoniastria, and the bright red with UFO rings Australomusa. We have large colonies of Acanpachycepta and a metric ton of awesome scolies. This large lober reminded me of the polar lights, and this... I should move on, because on my way to the nursery we casually walked past this jaw-dropping show tank they stashed away in one of their warehouses. And it is not just any show tank, it is in fact the personal aquarium of none other than the founder of Dejong Marinelife, Mr. Ari Dejong himself. He set this tank up by himself, and as you can tell by the scape, choices of corals and fish, he is a die-hard hobbyist as well. The scape seems very much inspired by wild coral reefs and seems to perfectly suit the needs of both corals and the fish. The many arches and caves allow for the fish to swim through and mind their own business, all whilst allowing for maximum flow, which for sure is needed when you look at the many Acropora species all around the top and throughout the tank. Which is also perfect for the countless small fish in here to swim through and around. And speaking of fish, I couldn't not notice the crazy amount of the rare golden Cuban basslet dotted all over this tank. Usually you'd be extremely lucky to find one of them, but there were more than 20 of them in this tank. This is no longer surprising if you look at the Latin name Grama dejongi, named after Mr. Dejong himself, who first found and imported this amazing fish, I think back in 2010. They could not have chosen a better token fish for this brilliant display. A quick glimpse of their very sleek in-house coral farm. However, I did decide to invest what little time I had here into their fish nursery, so if you'd like to see more about the corals, comment down below and maybe I can visit them again for a part 2. We moved on to have our hands sanitized? Yes, we also had to put on those very stylish plastic booties and step into a sanitation solution, because biosecurity here is serious business and every person must do this before entering the restricted fish nursery building. As if we entered a different world, we walked past scientists working in labs and we found the live food zone. Here, all the live foods needed for fish larvae are grown, enriched and prepared for feeding. Connected to this room are individual labs for every type of zooplankton used. Rotifers, copepods, and a special kind of brine shrimp where the eggs are actually magnetic, so the hatched nauplii can easily be separated from the empty shells using a magnet. When entering the broodstock zone, the first thing you see while being slapped in the face with tropical temperatures and 100% humidity is the deep water habitat. Here we find species from deeper down in the ocean, and I should mention that all fish from here on out are part of their breeding program. And as you can see, we're off to a fantastic start with a group of ventralis anthias, candy basslets, as well as the rare Caribbean deepwater butterfly fish. Most breeding pairs are kept alone or with carefully selected tank mates in a biotope just like this to make them feel right at home. Right besides, there was a row of tanks for mostly angelfish, including the famous kingy angelfish, certainly a holy grail for many. These fish have a price tag in the thousands. And it seems we walked right into a posh neighborhood as we encounter another holy grail fish, the goldflake angel. And it seems like it wasn't too happy about peasants in its front yard, so I moved on. And while I was looking at all these beautiful fish, I was wondering, are all the angelfish equally easy or difficult to breed? The answer I got was quite fascinating because even within the same genus, every species is different. They explained that coral beauty angelfish, for example, have a larval period of about 40 days, whereas flame angelfish have a larval period of about 100 days, which makes a huge difference when you try and raise these fish. Difficult or not, a fish you almost never see in the trade is the joculator angelfish. This chunky fellow is incredibly special because it comes from the Christmas Island, a location so remote it makes collection and export very difficult and rare, so breeding them would provide fish in larger numbers than imports ever could, all while protecting their wild population. That is a win-win for everybody. This absolutely ginormous Japanese dwarf angelfish in full mating coloration was so big. How this is still considered a dwarf angelfish is beyond me. It made me think of the teeny tiny tank bred one shown in the display of Dejong Marinelife and Aquarium in 2022. And I mentioned mating coloration. Some fish change their colors during mating. An extreme example of this is this blue spotted jawfish. I almost didn't recognize it until it was pointed out to me. The usually bright orange face of the fish is now completely black. This very roomy tank with lots of swimming space is perfect for pelagic spawning fish like this group of Bellis angelfish. These have already been successfully bred in recent years and share this tank with an amazing scribbled regal angel and the very sought after Lenardi wrasse. Seeing this as part of a breeding project really got my hopes up to maybe one day get tank bred wrasses of this caliber. This is the first of a few biotope tanks where Dejong experiments with origin-specific communities. So each of these tanks represent distinct ecosystems housing species that coexist in nature. The equipment, light schedule and water parameters are the same across all the biotopes, so the idea here is that the fish have evolved behavioral patterns to deal with each other, and keeping fish from the same geographic area might make it more likely to get them to spawn in an aquarium. And as this is the Red Sea biotope, we have a bunch of famous fish from the Red Sea here. Like a couple of purple tangs, a beautiful pair of the blue cheek butterfly fish, the Red Sea variant of the regal angelfish, which is extra vibrant and has a yellow belly. Even the very finicky crowned butterfly fish has found its way into this breeding project. And for good measure, I guess they added a couple of gem tanks. And if you couldn't tell already, all the fish here are grown out and super well nourished. And I'm not sure you noticed, but a moment ago there was an absolute unicorn of a fish on screen. It was super camera shy and harder to film than Bigfoot. It is the one-of-one white-tailed purple tang, which they believe to be a wild mutation and not a hybrid. This is the Hawaiian biotope, which is particularly exciting because ornamental fish export from Hawaii has been banned in recent years, and some species are only available from Hawaii. So the best example for this would probably be the yellow tang, which is already successfully being bred in captivity and in commercial numbers too by Biota. So I'm really excited for the future of the hobby, which might include captive bred parrotfish, pyramid butterflies, and maybe even blue throat triggerfish and Moorish idols. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. They had these picture-perfect conspic angelfish. They're in peak health and super personable. At first glance, they're not the flashiest fish. However, their bright blue outline, yellow face and fins, and intricate neon blue details make this an exclusive statement in every tank. The Australian habitat was not as densely populated, so I'll jump right to my favorite here. The scribbled angelfish. Like many fish in this video already, it is the first time I've seen these in person, and just like the conspic angels before, they are also very chill and personable. It's really sad we don't see these more often, because their scribbled pattern, navy blue color with yellow accents make this Australian rarity one of the best looking angelfish in my opinion. And a lot of fish I just showed you were way too big for the average home aquarium, so let's look at some more suitable candidates, like the rare cave basslet from the deeper waters in the Caribbean. Or this ready to spawn pair of the rare rainbow basslet, another member of the lesser known genus Leopropoma. And while not exactly cheap either, if you're looking for an exclusive fish, they grow to about 5 inches, which is a little bigger than most available Leopropomas in the hobby, and it's not going to break the bank like the more famous candy basslet. Famous for its hot pink stripes and neon orange coloration, considered the nicest basslet out there, and rightfully so. A lot more budget friendly, yet still uncommon, is the black-capped grama, the all-purple version of the royal grama. But if you'd like to go the other direction with an all-yellow fish, the Grama dejongi is of course your first choice, and while there have already been loads of them in the show tank earlier, they are also scattered all over the broodstock zone in the nursery. Including the platinum version, an even rarer fish, because as far as I know, only one breeding pair at Biota in Florida produces offspring with the platinum gene, which also means it is a recessive one, as a pair of 2 platinum Grama dejongi is not guaranteed to have platinum babies. Did you know that there is a close relative to both the Grama and the Leopropoma basslets? Their genus is called Lipograma, and they perfectly fill the gap between the two. This fella has creatively been named bicolor basslet and looks a lot like Grama Loreto, however it comes from the deeper waters of the Caribbean. And while they seem to be very curious, they're also shy and careful at the same time. And these fish are so rare and special, they offer them amounts of live mysis to the point where the fish start to ignore them. The fish in my tank would never just sit by and watch a live mysis swim past. In terms of rarity, the hourglass basslet takes the cake. It is found 300 meters deep in the waters of the Caribbean. That means they have to collect it using a submarine with robotic arms and slowly decompress it on the way up. Very few images of this fish exist, and even fewer have ever been caught. I was truly honored to see it in person and record it for you guys. The filtration for this operation would have been surprisingly similar to what you'd find on a home aquarium, except everything was much bigger. Industrial-sized skimmers with ozone and refugiums bigger than the average home aquarium, complete with clams, mangroves and macroalgae. And of course a sterile kitchen to supply a steady stream of phytoplankton, which is desperately needed when you look at the grow-out area. Here you find an array of these round tubs for growing out larvae. And the round tubs aren't just for looks. The shape ensures a constant water flow and even distribution of oxygen throughout the tub. And because the larvae are pelagic, they aren't used to objects in their way. The round design lets them swim uninterrupted and reduces stress. They also start out in a green water culture of very dense phytoplankton, making sure they can always find food and stay calm in this environment. And in case you've been wondering what we've actually been looking at this whole time, the answer is baby peppermint shrimp. And because we're not here for shrimp, here are some baby clownfish. And of course I wouldn't show you just any clownfish. This is the offspring of the Oman clownfish that was first imported in 2022 by Dejong Marinelife. And if you look very closely on the bottom right, you can see a patch of eggs. And to make it as comfortable as possible for every type of fry, every tub has individually controllable light schedules, intensity and spectrum, as well as heaters and temperature controllers. This is one of their latest batches, some super cute babies of the orchid dottyback. These tiny guys are about 1 month old at the time of filming, as you can see from the chart that is mounted to the side of every tub. These are also orchid dottybacks, but they are 3 months old, and if you're wondering about the egg crate, at night they actually use it like a hotel with an individual room for every single fish. Mitratus butterfly fish and black tangs, some of tomorrow's broodstock that I found in one of their holding tanks. When I was called over to see the actual broodstock of tomorrow in the quarantine room. I wasn't allowed to step inside, but I got a pretty good glimpse. A whole batch of about 20 Vivian's leopard wrasses from Madagascar, a group of multiple Erli fairy wrasses, another kingy angelfish, as well as the uber rare Madagascar flasher wrasse. But what about some instant gratification? What rare and tank bred fish can you get today? Let's take a look at their holding tanks for fish that are ready to sell. What about some bread and butter domino clownfish? I thought it was a really fascinating behavior, the way they ball up into a giant bunch against the glass. Wait, what?
You mentioned rare fish in the thumbnail.
Rare fish?
Yes, sir.
Oh, get out of here, clownfish, and hello, Japanese dwarf angel. You've seen the breeding pair earlier in the video. This cutie patootie is absolutely stunning, and if you would like one in your own tank, you need very deep pockets. A prime example of what is possible today and also affordable for the average hobbyist. Captive bred yellow tangs, even purple tangs, emperor angelfish, and a goldflake angel. Captive bred Bangai cardinals are not exactly surprising, but Grama Loreto, regal angelfish, and Bellis angels are even more so impressive. And speaking of impressive, we have a group of 8 juvenile conspicuous angelfish. Knowing the sticker price of these, we're looking at about 25,000 euros in value right here. Probably one of the most groundbreaking recent successes, the banded angel. This fish fetches upwards of 7,000 euros wholesale and before tax. The banded angel usually originates from Hawaii, and while I have not seen any adult bandits around the nursery anywhere, I was wondering if they have a secret stash somewhere, or maybe they received the larvae from a private aquarist. Whatever it may be, it is the first time I've ever seen a banded angel in person, and they are super cute. But if I had to pick any single fish from their nursery as my favorite, the Collins Dwarf Angel is the one I would bag and take home with me. With its incredibly unusual glow-in-the-dark yellowy green color and the dark blue back, I think it is a very moonfruit fish that I would gladly risk some corals for. If you have made it this far into the video, you must be a crazy fish nerd just like me. If you have any further open questions, drop them in the comment section down below. I'll respond to all your comments and answer all your questions to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I have a bunch more crazy projects and videos lined up, so stay tuned.